Hey guys, Evan Ork here, back with another video, and today we're going to be doing a review on the Kotm Mothra figure. Now, trust me, I'm very aware that I can be very late on the draw when it comes to getting figures. I wasn't really sure that I was going to get this at all, and I'm pretty sure I was, positive in saying I wasn't going to get the Kotm Rodan, yet I got that in Christmas of 2019, and I'm pretty sure I know in the past I've said that I wasn't going to get the Kotm Mothra, but here it is. So, I just saw this in a store, and I figured because it was right before my birthday, I could save it for my birthday. It was actually not a bad price, and, why not? It's one of those things where it's like you can't really give a reason why not, unless it's really expensive, but of course this wasn't the case because, it's not anything too special. But anyways, let's get into the biggest pro I have with this figure. The biggest pro I have with this figure is easily the paint job. It is slightly above average. By the way, there is none of the pros I have, I'm just going to say this, are way above average. I only have one big favorite pro of mine. I guess you could count a second one, but I'll get into that later. But the one big pro of mine is the paint job, and as I said, it's slightly above average. And although the actual body of Mothra herself, like of course this part, like I know everything you see right now is her body, but this part I meant of the body is, it's just really one color. It's brown. You might see a little bit of of course, yellow here, but there isn't any booming colors on the actual body part. Maybe booming when it comes to the blue eyes, but the really good paint color that makes this really nice is the paint color on the wings. I mean, you have the booming yellow, red, orange. I think orange and yellow stand out the most, but primarily this is why I think it's slightly above average in terms of the paint job. So let's move on to the next thing I like about this figure. So the next thing I like about this figure is the detail. Now the detail is just a solid average, and I'm being very generous in saying it's under average. I'm just going to say it's a solid average because although there isn't any detail on the wings, which I think are the biggest part of it, that's why it's not that big of a pro. Maybe if you count these lines, I guess that's detail. The real detail you could see on this figure is with the actual body. I mean, you do, in all fairness, have nice linear sculpts as part of the mold, like right here. You see the lines here, you see the lines on the legs, you see like the kind of wrinkly skin, moth skin, I guess you could say, on the legs there. They gave it a wrinkly effect. The lines on the claws. There's not much facial detail, but the linear parts of the mold is what really makes this detail average and not, under average. But that being said, let's move on to the cons of this figure. Now, the cons I have with this figure, I actually have quite a few, and none of them are nitpicks. All three cons I'm about to state are big cons. But yeah, so let's just get right into it. So the first con I have to say right off the bat that I honestly think is the biggest con of all is that there is no articulation. There is zero articulation. I mean, if you count the wings moving, that's only because of the material it's made out of, and I'm going to get into that too. But there's no articulation, and this isn't a problem with this Kotm figure. This is a problem with all of Kotm's Bandai collection line. I mean, all of them. I can't say that because I don't have the Godzilla Kotm Bandai, which does look like it has articulation, but for the other three I have, which are Mothra, King Ghidorah, and Rodan, none of them, at least if I'm forgetting maybe one articulating figure, a part of the Rodan figure, none of them have articulation. Almost none of them. As I said, Rodan might, I have to check, but none of them do. And I think it's just, there's no excuse for that. I mean, the King Ghidorah too, I mean, I know we're not talking about King Ghidorah here, but the King Ghidorah Bandai figure should have had plenty of articulation, and it didn't have any. In this case, you don't have any. And if you want to ask what could you have moved on this figure, well, let's be honest, you could have moved the two legs, the two arms, and then slight movement with the wings, because if it was too much, it'd be hard to wiggle around. So that would just give you like 6 articulating joints, 5 articulating joints, and that would have easily made articulation a part of the pros within this figure. So in case you guys are wondering how come you didn't list articulation as a pro like you do with most of your other reviews, that's because that's undeserving of giving articulation on this figure a pro, because there isn't any. There's not 1 or 2 joints. There's just none. Zero. So Kotm's Bandai collection is not good. The only thing closest to it being good is maybe the paint job that they've done on all of them, and in some cases the detail. But that's, honestly, that's just my overall opinion. So the second biggest con, in my opinion, is that it's just too small. It's like everything about it is too small. I get Mothra wasn't meant to be huge in Kotm, and she wasn't actually, but it could be a little bit bigger, especially this body part. I mean, this is like just this big, literally this big. This is as big, and yet I've seen Mothra figures like, the classic Tokyo SOS Bandai Mothra or the Fire Mothra Bandai. They're way bigger. They're like, up here. You know what I mean? So there's really no excuse for this being so tiny. It just, I don't know why. The wings, I guess, are a reasonable size, but just the body. I mean, never mind, because maybe if you have to, make the body bigger, you have to make the wing bigger too. But, I mean, yeah, it's just like, why? And then the third con, that's right, I'm not done here yet. I'm really, like, going after this figure. The third con I have is that the wing material. I mean, what is this? This is... I mean, I know I'm going all hard on it all of a sudden. If that was a shock to you, I didn't really try to make it a shock. I mean, it's just this plastic. It's just like it's plastic. I'm pretty sure, but it's like a mold, a flexible plastic, which I guess makes sense because if it's a wing, it can move. But at the same time, that's a bad idea because if you put it in a bad position with this kind of material, it'll stay in that position. And you'll have to use a hair dryer to just bring it back because of course that's how you fix the mold on stiff figures. But this is just weird. Like, why is it in this kind of material? It should be a solid plastic like all the other Bandai Mothras. I mean, Bandai really didn't take a look at their old Bandai Mothra figures from the Toho movies and say, why don't we apply the same kind of plastic design and all that, but do it in the style of this figure. So that's my biggest problem with it overall. There are three biggest problems of it. The first one I said was the biggest problem with it. But yeah, overall, I'm going to rate this figure a 7 out of 10. I know from the way in which I kind of described the cons of it, it deserved a 5 or 6 out of 10. But if it's three big cons, that's like minus 3 points. That's 7 out of 10. That's how I grade things. So in a way, I feel like, yeah, it deserves less than 7 out of 10. But I can't really do that because I don't really have more cons than I already gave. You know what I mean? So 7 out of 10 is what I give it. In terms of recommending this figure, as I said from the very beginning, it's one of those figures that you could just go, why not? So in other words, yeah, sure, if you see it for a decent price and you are able to afford it because you have more than enough money, there isn't a real reason why you shouldn't get it, So I guess I would recommend it, but I will say right off the bat that it is, without, counting the Godzilla Kotm Bandai figure, because I don't have that, but not counting that, it is the worst Bandai Kotm figure of the 4 Bandai Kotm figure lines because it's just not good. I mean, the articulation brought a lot of the Kotm Bandai figures down. I mean, I know that's just stating the obvious, but it's true. It just brought them all down. But this was the worst of it. If I ever gave a different Kotm Bandai figure a different rate, if you look at my old reviews of them and I had a lower rate, I gave them a lower rate than 7 out of 10, which I don't think I did, then I completely take it back. This is my least favorite Kotm Bandai figure out of the 4, besides the Godzilla, because I don't have that. So, yeah, that's what I'd say about this figure. I do hope you enjoyed this review, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys later, and bye-bye.